Alright guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to do extreme close-ups using only the stock lens on our cameras. Normally with these cameras you can only get about, about 8 inches away from the subject, and you can't even really get in very close, but I'm going to show you today how to use just the stock lens to get extremely close, like so close you can't even tell what you're looking at, to our subject. Let's get started. Alright, the first thing you need to know is that to do this you have to remove the lens from your camera. And that is a little scary because with the lens off the camera, it could pretty easily fall or drop, or we can get crap inside the camera that we don't want there. So let me show you the correct way to take the lens off and put it back on, and how to treat the camera while you have the lens off. So here we go. Here we have one of our cameras. I want to remove the lens from this. I want you to look here on the side. Right here you can see there's a big black button right there. To remove the lens, we're actually going to have to press and hold that down. And then see this white dot on the side of the lens? That's super important. That's going to come into play later on. So let me show you how we use the black button to remove the lens. Alright, this is a little tricky to do with only one hand since I'm holding the camera with the other one. I'm going to give it a shot. What you want to do is you want to push this button in, and normally you would use one of your other hand. You'd grab the lens with one hand and then press and hold this button in with the other one. I'm going to try to do it with one hand here. Basically, I'm going to push this button in with my thumb, and then you're going to turn the lens this way, so towards this white dot's going to go up. So I'm going to, once I push that in, I can now turn the lens up, and once I get it far enough, I can pull it straight off. You need to be super careful while you have these lenses off. Do me a favor and try to keep this looking down most of the time. We want to avoid getting dust and crap inside of there, and if we have it facing up, then something could easily fall into it. So keep that thing pointed down to keep the junk out of it. So later on, we're going to have to put these lenses back on. Let me show you how to do that real quick. Remember that white dot right there that I told you was going to be important later on, that dude right there? Well, what you're going to want to do is match up this white dot with the one on the camera. Get those to match up, and you might have to kind of just finesse it in there. And once you've got that in there, you're just going to turn the white dot back towards the black circle until it clicks. And you've now reattached the lens to the camera. Sweet, that's it. Go ahead, grab your camera. Try this out. Push that black dot in. See if you can't easily remove and then replace the lens. Hopefully you can do it no problems. If you're not 100% certain that you can do it correctly without breaking something, let me know. Give me a holler. I'll come over and help you out. Let's make sure we don't break anything or mess anything up. So we'll pause this video, take us some time, get comfortable, make sure everybody in your group knows how to remove and put the lens back on the camera. Ready to get started. You can see I've got my lens off my camera here. I'm ready to go. The first thing we have to do is that for this to work, we're going to have to put our mode wheels, and we're going to have to change from P to TV or M. Either one will work in this case. I'm going to leave mine on TV. This is basically, we're taking control of the shutter speed, which is what we're going to want to do for this assignment. And we also want to make sure our ISO is set around what we would normally use. I'm here inside. It's a little bit dark in here. I've got my ISO set to 3200. That's probably about right. And then this number right here is one that is important. This is the shutter speed, and that's what we're going to have to worry about here. Why don't you start just by turning this top wheel right here. We'll change the shutter speed. So I'm going to change that shutter speed. Let's start at 1/100. That's a pretty good starting point for what we are about to do. So I've got my ISO set, I've got my shutter speed set right where I want it. We are set and ready to go. What you need to know before we start is that things are going to be literally backwards when we do this. If we want to get super, super, super close to our subject, we're actually going to set the zoom on our lens to 18 millimeters. The lower the number, in real life, normally 55 is the higher. 55 gets us closer to our subject. For this, we're going to do it with 18 is going to get us close. Honestly, 18 almost gets us too close. It's too hard to do this at 18. I would start with your zoom set to 55, and then if you need to, or you want to, try going down to 35, and then 24, and then if you're really feeling ambitious, try 18. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's not easy. I've been handling cameras for over 20 years, and I have a really hard time getting photos to be in focus when I'm set to 18 millimeters. So I'm going to start with this thing set to 55 and see how that goes. Earlier when I said things were literally backwards for this, well, they literally are. I've got my lens here Normally this is the side that attaches to the camera. I'm going to, for this assignment, make sure again that my zoom is still set to 55. It is. I'm going to just hold the lens right up against the front of the camera right there. I'm going to try to get it as centered as possible on there. It doesn't have to be perfect, but for the actual photography portion of this, I'm just going to be holding the lens on the front of the camera. Kind of crazy, but that's how it works. Here we go. It's the moment of truth. It's go time. I'm holding my lens on the front of my camera. You can see I got my 2 fingers on it right here to kind of hold it in place. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to try to take a picture of the N key on my keyboard here. And I've got my zoom set to 55 millimeters. Here I go. There's no autofocus here, so don't bother trying to autofocus. To focus, what you do is you just move the camera closer or farther away. So right about there, my N key is in focus. You can see I'm about, I don't know, about 3 to 4 inches away. That is significantly closer than I can normally get with my lens set to, or placed on the camera the correct way. I'm going to go ahead and take this shot. Okay, so take a look at that. That is, whoop, let me bring it back up. That is pretty good. I normally could not get that close, but it's also a little too dark. So here's what you need to know. This number right here, 1/100. If you want your photo to get brighter, you lower that. So I need my photo to get a little bit brighter. I'm going to drop that down to about 1/60. If you want your photo to get darker, you would raise it. So I'm going to turn that wheel, drop that down to 1/60. Let's take that photo again, see how it looks. So you can see that looks quite a bit better. It's still maybe a touch dark. So I'm going to drop that shutter speed down even a little bit farther. I'll go to 1/40. Let's see how that looks. And there you go. That looks pretty good. Again, that's closer than I could normally get using the lens the correct way, so we're off to a good start. One thing to keep in mind is if this number gets any lower than around 1/40, you need to start being really careful. In fact, if it does, instead of continuing to lower it, I want you to raise up that ISO instead. So bump that up from 3200 to whatever the next level up is. In this case, that would be 6400. I'm actually happy with 1/40 though, so I'm going to leave it. Now at this point, I do want to show you what happens if I change my lens from 55 down to 35. It's a little bit harder to hold because I don't have that gap right there. So I'll just try to be a little more careful. Hold that on the front there. Here we go for the N key again. Oh man, significantly closer this time. The closer you are, the more careful you got to be. You got to hold that camera really still and try not to move back and forth either. Oh, look at that. Let me show you that one. Look how much closer I got on that one with the lens set to 35 instead of 55. So the lower that number is, the closer we can get. Let's try 24. And here we go. Sometimes when you're getting this close, it's hard to find the key anymore. I honestly don't know if I can get close enough without changing my angle. This is where things start to get real tricky, and why I said you might want to stay away from 18. Oh, that's the B key. From 18 millimeters. There's the N right there. Woo! Look how close that is right there. That is close. And that's still not even the closest we could get. If I was still feeling really crazy, I could drop this down to even to 18. And man, that would be so close. I bet I won't even be able to get it in focus. Let's do it real quick. I'm going to take a couple shots here. And it'll be a miracle if any of those are in focus. You can see the depth of field, the window of the amount of the image that's in focus is so small. It's basically from there to there, but it's a little bit blurry. That's the hardest part, is that you get motion blur because you're so close. It's really hard to keep that in focus. You see, even with taking several, I don't know, maybe that one's pretty good right there. that I ever got it. But there you go. That is how you get extreme close-ups using only the stock lens. Remember to put it back on. Just match up. Oops, that's upside down. This white dot right there with the white dot on your camera. Drop that into place. Twist it back towards the black dot until it clicks into place. And you're good to go. You're done.